Hey guys, welcome back to Critical Flick. Today I'll be reviewing The Marvels. So The Marvels is the newest film in the MCU, and in this one we see Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvel, and Monica Rambeau team up. Their powers become intertangled and they are transported back and forth across the universe to their different locations, so that creates kind of an interesting position swapping dynamic to the story. I will say right away, this is one of those movies where it feels like you really need to have consumed most of the MCU content to fully understand the story and really get the most out of it. As someone myself who hasn't seen all of Ms. Marvel, and it's been since Captain Marvel came out that I've seen it, and also having watched WandaVision, I did have a basic understanding of all the characters, and I never felt like fully lost or anything, but I do think someone who jumps into this movie never having seen particularly any of those movies would not really understand the dynamics or what's happening at all. With the story being under 2 hours long, being one of the shorter MCU films, I did feel like it could have added a little bit more backstory. I do like that it kind of builds up who Carol Danvers is as a character, who Captain Marvel is, and why we should care about her. I feel like in the previous films, she was kind of like just this plot device. She's a super powerful being that shows up and saves the day. And this one, we get more into her psyche and what she's been dealing with, which we haven't seen since the first film. So I do like the dynamic between her and Monica Rambeau and kind of building that relationship. I think that's some of the better scenes in the film. I also have to say Ms. Marvel is really the heart of this movie. I think she's great. I think she adds kind of an infectious energy to the story that helps move it along. It's a very lighthearted story in many places, and I think those scenes really shine. When this movie focuses on being kind of a heartfelt story, I think it does a good job. When it's kind of whimsical, I think it does a pretty decent job. When it tries to really do anything else, I think it falls a little bit short. And that kind of is the weird blend of, is something too silly or too ridiculous that it's at the detriment of a story ever being taken seriously? And it almost does fall into that for me. While I enjoyed the heartfelt moments, the movie does feel a little cheesy at times and a little silly. It almost feels like a big overblown crossover episode of a television show rather than a movie. Like they're trying to jam a lot into it, and there's a lot of little goofy one-liners and little, asides that we've come to see in some of the newer Marvel films. And I know that works for some people. I think some people really enjoy that kind of goofy, lighthearted nature of it, whether it's this or like Thor: Love and Thunder. But for me, I like some of those other Marvel films, so it just fell a little bit flat. I think the visuals of the film actually look pretty good. We get a lot of different planets, and then we also have, kind of the more traditional scenes, whether it be in a space station or down in Jersey City. So you get some of kind of the normal set pieces, and then you get some of these huge overblown planets. I think some of them were cool. There's a planet in particular that's really weird where the people sing, and it's a bold decision to do that. It didn't necessarily land for me, but I appreciate they're trying to do something a little bit different, and the planet looked pretty cool, so I liked it. There was kind of some planet hopping. You get some dreary planets. You get almost like this Iceland looking landscape where the Skrulls are. So I do like that we got some different situations. At times, it's green screen. It's not going to look fantastic, but I don't think it was ever aggressively bad. I will say one of the big drawbacks to this film is the villain. She's pretty throwaway. I understand her, what she's going for. It feels like we've seen this before with someone who's trying to do something for their planet, but they're destroying other planets, and it's just this ultimate powerful being that has to be stopped. And there's like a fetch quest involved of trying to find another piece to her power, and we've seen this before, so I feel like it doesn't add anything new. I didn't think she had any fantastic scenes, and in particular, there's a scene right towards the end of the film where the characters make a decision involving this villain that was, in my opinion, almost like eye-rollingly bad, and it just was like, why are we doing this? Why are we making this decision? I thought we were going in a whole different direction. I would be like, oh, that's kind of refreshing and different, but it fell back into the same thing that we've seen before with MCU villains, and then it just gets big overblown and messy, and I just didn't love that decision. I will say I did like the ending of the film as a whole. It becomes very full circle with Captain Marvel and her relationship with Rambeau, and kind of having that projected onto Ms. Marvel and kind of taking her almost under her wing in a way, and I think that's really where the movie comes full circle. In the beginning, we watch Ms. Marvel feeling like she just wants to meet Captain Marvel. That's her ultimate dream, and she's just, making this comic book about her. And next thing you know, she's caught up in a team with her, and you kind of have that, like I said, infectious energy of a fan finally getting to be with their hero and having that dynamic back and forth. And even in the film, you kind of see like that image of like people aren't necessarily who we think they are, and people are flawed. So I liked those themes. It doesn't hit hard enough on those at times though, so it's really a mixed bag when it comes to messaging, and it does fall a little messy as far as the storyline. I won't go into spoilers, but there are some end credit scenes that I actually do enjoy. I think they help move the MCU a little further along, and they made me excited for things to come in the future. I feel like so often these scenes have become throwaway or almost pointless, or they never lead to anything, and I am hoping that these actually do pan out. Obviously, they make a bold swing with particularly the end credit scene, something going on there. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but definitely stick around to see that because it has some huge implications moving forward, and I can't wait to see that. So while I did somewhat enjoy this movie, I didn't hate it. I actually am more excited for what's to come next. So if I were to rate The Marvels, I would give it a 5.5 out of 10. I think it is very slightly above average. I think it falls closely to the middle, to maybe the lower middle half of the MCU films for me. I hold a lot of the MCU films in high regard, so this one isn't the best. It isn't my favorite. It probably isn't going to be anywhere near my favorite. I don't know if I'll revisit it. Maybe I'll rewatch some of the Marvel films once we get closer to coming up to the ends of this phase. So as a whole, I think if you're a Marvel fan and you like the shows, particularly if you like Ms. Marvel and you liked Captain Marvel, I think you'll enjoy it. It's more of the same. You get kind of a more fleshed out experience with these characters. So if you like those, it's worth checking out. If you're going into it probably not wanting to like it, or you don't like those characters, you're not going to like the movie. It doesn't do anything to change hearts and minds, in my opinion. If you check it out, let me know what you thought about it. I always love to hear people's opinions. This is so divisive, how we are with superhero movies. Like, there's no reason to get worked up about it. So if you just want me to know whether you liked it or you didn't like it, how's it ranked for the MCU films for you? Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and see you guys next time.